Welcome back, Caddy Corner, episode 35. I'm Austin.
I'm Caleb.
And we're back. It is much nicer outside today than the last time that we recorded.
That is a fact.
Last time we recorded, it was cold and gross outside. Today, it is... I haven't actually been outside since this morning. Is it nice out?
Yeah, it's pretty nice out. It's not too cold.
It's sunny. It looks nice. The sky looks good. So, we're here for episode 35 of Caddy Corner. First off, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Indeed.
This is coming out the day after Thanksgiving. So, hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Hopefully you didn't eat too much food and you're, like, dying, because that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Second of all, this episode is going to be about how to close out your semester. So it is the end of the semester. I have, like, 2 weeks left. First week of December, I'm done. So it is time to get everything in order, get your ducks in a row, if you will, and close it out strong. So we've got some stuff for that. Caleb's got a how-to list. I've just got some points. Before we dive into that, though, like, subscribe, comment, rate the show if you're on the audio platforms. Give us a 5 stars. We really appreciate it. And without further ado...
Speaking of that, we have a new review.
Oh, yeah. You want to hit that now?
Yeah.
Hit it if you want.
So, Caleb Nesbitt 03 says, "You guys have a great show."
If you want to explain yourself, you can feel free.
If you want to, you might be a little confused there because I was too. My name is Caleb Nesbitt, and I did not write that. So whoever Caleb Nesbitt 03 is,
Yes.
Thank you. You are now obviously my number one fan.
Yes.
I've never had anyone come up with like a tag name after myself.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that. I love you. And let's get to the show. How to finish out the semester strong. I have a little 5-point list here. So I'm just gonna hit them all.
Yeah, sure.
I'll take it from here, and you can chime in whenever you feel comfortable. Number 1 here on my list, I have stick to your routine.
Okay.
So, the fall semester is always super tough for me. The first half is never that bad, but the second, like the end of the semester, always all the breaks and stuff, they really get to me.
We talked about that a bit after the pod last week.
It makes me feel really unproductive and stuff, and so something that I've been trying to do to not let these breaks get to my brain so bad is just fill the breaks with other things that make me feel productive. And so one thing that I've been doing a ton recently is working, because if you're not doing school, you might as well do work and make some money. And also another thing that I've been doing is, like, I haven't stopped doing schoolwork. So even though, like, we have breaks, I'm still, like, doing and completing assignments for school. I'm not just, like, putting it off.
Sure.
And, like I'm off school, so I'm not even going to touch my schoolwork at all, just so I can still kind of, like, feel the school vibes, so that whenever I go back to school, it's not so weird feeling.
Whenever you do that, are you purposefully, like, pacing your, like, homework strategy to allow that to happen, or not really?
Well, I mean, I pretty much have done that all semester anyway. So, like, my statistics class is, like, crazy heavy. Like, we have a ton of assignments to do. So, like, if I'm not doing anything, I'm doing statistics homework.
Yeah.
Basically, just because
it's so much.
Like, you can't do it in just a couple days. Like, you have to space it out between. I mean, if you do one assignment a day, it takes like 10 days to do like one module.
Yeah.
So,
and this is like, that's like a first time experience for you, because I've never had that either.
Yeah. Definitely.
I assume so.
And so, like, it's actually pretty easy to do, like, spread out my work like that, just because
the nature of that class.
I have so much in that class. But then, like, the other classes too, I'm a little ahead in a couple of my classes, which is definitely not a bad thing. But I've just been trying to stay productive during the breaks and trying to, like, stay on at least a routine, even though it's not my normal routine, just so that I can stay sharp between
Yeah.
the eyeballs, you know.
Yeah, good strategy.
Next, on my list, I have focus on the future. I think that's a super important thing. If you're in school, especially in college, you're paying to be there, and so you're probably working towards your future, if I had to guess. And it's really hard to stay motivated whenever you're, like, super stressed out. So, and, like, focusing on the future can definitely make you stressed out sometimes. It definitely does for me. But a little advice I have, and something I've said on the show before, is you just got to take things one step at a time. And I know you hear that a million, gazillion, quadrillion times, but it rings so true, just because whenever you look at the big picture of things, everything looks so massive and scary and untouchable. But whenever you look at it just like your next step, it's just everything will fall into place, and you don't even have to worry about it at all.
Yeah, facts.
Next here, surround yourself with support. It's pretty much been in every single one of my how-tos thus far, but I really think that it is one of the biggest things that you can do. Kind of what I was leaning into putting in this how-to is, like, whenever you're at school, surround yourself with people who are trying to do the same things as you,
for sure.
that have the same kind of productive level, productivity level.
Yeah, I guess.
And because whenever you are around people at school that don't care about school, you're not going to care about school.
For sure.
So you have to surround yourself with people that do care about school so that you can care about school. And, like, if you're in a class and you haven't done the homework and somebody's like, have you done the homework? And you're like, no, then, like, let that person make you feel bad for not doing the homework instead of just being like, you didn't do it. Like, that's okay.
Exactly.
You know, because, like, that's not okay.
Another thing too on that is, I think a mistake that you could make with that advice too is you go and you pick people to work and study with that are, like, smarter than you or just better naturally as a student than you in something that you're not great at studying, because then you're going to get frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you were in your statistics class and you get with a group of guys and they're all, like, math majors and they're just flying through statistics, they're going to fly through like the homework, and you're just going to get frustrated that you're not flying through the homework at the same pace.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you're going to hate statistics even more. So be careful about that.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Wow, it's coffee.
You're drowning over here.
I guess. Next here, I have some time for yourself. So this is kind of not a me type point. This is for everyone else, kind of. If you're the same way as me, you don't really like to have time to yourself. You kind of fill your time with everything else. That's just how I roll. I like to be busy. But for some people, that is not how they roll. And for people who don't roll like that, then having time for yourself is super important. And, like, for people like that, then the spring semester is really tough because there's not a lot of time for breaks, and there's not a lot of time to chill. And so for the fall semester, take advantage of those breaks. If you're on a break, do your homework so that you don't have to worry about doing it during the break, and just chill and do whatever you need to do. Just so you can have that time, because, like, burnout is a real thing. And it doesn't just happen in the workforce. It happens in school too. I would say
happens every time. All the time.
I would say more than
I get burned out once a semester.
Yeah.
Even with all the breaks in the fall semester.
Yeah.
I'm just dying at then. Yeah.
And so something that I would suggest is, if you are like me and you do like to stay busy, hobbies are, like, so good. There are so many things that people do for hobbies, and if you have a hard time finding a hobby to do, something that I suggest is trying everything and finding something that you like to do the best, because I've heard so many people say, there's no hobbies that I would want to do, but there are probably more hobbies that you don't know about than hobbies that you do know about.
Facts, yes.
So definitely just do your research and try everything to help fill your time. Something that I like to do is I like to play the guitar. that keeps me sane.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I do have time to myself, that's what I'm doing, and I'm making my family mad because I'm keeping them awake.
Yeah.
But
Turn up.
got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
To stay healthy.
For sure.
And lastly, here is something that I have also put. I actually think in every single one of my how-tos is celebrate accomplishments. It's so important, no matter how big or how small the accomplishment is, and the reason why you need to celebrate them is because whenever you make yourself happy for doing something good, it makes you want to do good things more often.
Good point.
And so it's just super important to celebrate every single win. And another thing too, like your support group, the people that you surround yourself with, they should be celebrating with you, just so it can keep you motivated. Because really, that is the whole thing about staying strong through the end of the semester. Is just motivation. It's all about motivation. So all of these steps are pretty much how to help you stay motivated, so that you can finish the semester strong.
Bada bing, bada boom. Crushed it as always on the old how-to section there, pal.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So
gotta take a drink break.
Yeah, go ahead. So I took my angle a little differently, mostly because I feel like every show we've done in the past month and a half has been a how-to.
Yeah, that's a fact.
And so I wanted to take it from a little bit of a different angle. And so what I have is I have general tips, and that basically being something that everybody can apply to their end of the semester strategy. And then I have a section which is called pedal to the metal tips, which is where you need a 70 on your exam to pass the class, or you don't know how to write this last paper and you got to figure it out. It's those types of situations. So I'm just going to go through the general tips, go through the pedal to the metal tips, chime in when you feel like it, and we're going to talk about this.
Okay.
So let's hit it. So step 1 on the general tip section is assess what you need to get done or need to have. So what that means is look at all your classes, look and see, first of all, like what kind of final are you going to have? You're going to have a project, you're going to have an exam, you're going to have a paper, or you're going to have a presentation. Assess what you need. Now, granted, you should have probably done this a little bit sooner than as you're listening to this podcast on November 22nd or whatever day it comes out this week on Friday, but you need to assess what you need to be able to do. So whether you have to get a 60 on the exam to pass the class, or if you could not even show up to the exam and still pass, it's just important to know those things. So just take a step back and look at what you need to do, and then
I wouldn't suggest not showing up, though.
No, I would not either. But it's just important to know that because it takes all the pressure away.
Yeah,
It takes all the pressure away. The second strategy, second thing to do, is to go through your syllabi, I guess, plural, syllabi.
Maybe?
Gotta be.
Yeah, it's definitely not syllabuses.
No. Honk, honk. So the second thing here is to go through all your syllabi and look at the exam dates and times and put them in your calendar.
Yeah.
If you listen to our Back to School series, I talked about this thing called Syllabuddy. If you didn't use that, you're a psycho, number 1. But number 2, just go through and put all of those into your calendar so that way, number 1, you don't miss the exam on accident, because that would be horrible. And number 2, make sure that they're just there and ready to see. For me, I use Apple calendars because I get my notifications, and I also have the widgets. And then all of my school-related stuff is in purple, and it's the only thing that is a different color than the normal boxes, so that way it stands out. So get your time and stuff organized. And also, too, sometimes the exam dates can change, so ask your professor if you're confused about that. And also sometimes, I'm sure it happens, where you get 2 exams scheduled at like the same time, and then what do you do then? So just ask around and get that taken care of like before the day of, because that would be a nightmare if you like woke up and realized that you had 2 exams at the same time.
Yeah, that would
be a nightmare.
That would be impossible to
execute on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strategy number 3 here is to get into academic focus mode. So that basically means
focus mode.
Focus mode, yep. Whenever you pull down here and you go focus mode. Anyway, just get into the studious mindset. Look over your notes. Turn off the distractions. It all depends, obviously, on how badly you want to do well on your exams and how badly you need to execute at the end of the semester. Generally, if you set yourself up for success throughout the whole semester, it's not a very stressful time. But obviously that doesn't happen always that way. So if you need to go into hardcore focus mode, then do that. If you need to just go into regular old study mode for a test, then do that too. Whatever works best for you. But that is step 3. Well, number 3, I guess. And then the 4th tip here is to create study plans and strategies. So this is something that you definitely never do in high school, and I've had my fair share of these because I had a nightmare psychology exam, in May or April of this year. So, did our things here. But for me, it was like I went through my whole notebook and made flashcards. I'll talk about this a little bit more in the pedal to the metal section. But basically, especially if you're a freshman and this is like your first time taking college exams, figure out how you study and what works best for you, and make the things. If what would work best for you would be to like make a podcast that you just keep on your phone, like an audio file of you almost like reteaching the notes to you, then that's what you need to do for everything that you ever do for the rest of your life. Especially as a freshman in college, just try things out. I would recommend that if you're in high school, try some things out too, so that way you can learn how you study best and how you best can relearn the information for college, because that will save you a lot of time and a lot of headaches.
Yeah, definitely.
Because studying is not something that you learn how to do just naturally. So for me, flashcards helped a lot, but I also was just memorizing everything so that way I could pass my test. And then the 4th tip here is just to be confident in your projects and or on your exams. If you go in there and you think that you don't know the information, then even if you know it, you're not going to do well. Confidence is a big part of it. And so just go in there with confidence and dial in and knock it out. If you tell yourself that you don't know the information, then you're really going to believe that. If you just be confident, then you'll be fine. So those are the general tips that I have. And then the pedal to the metal tips are just a little bit more kind of, I don't know, I guess serious, a little bit more like desperate. Desperate is the right word. But steps 1 and the first 2 tips are kind of similar, which is using your campus resources and then also asking for help. So reach out to your professor if you have questions. My psychology exam was kind of what I based all of this off of, because I kind of realized probably like a month before the exam, that I did not know the content well enough to do well. And so I reached out to the professor and asked for help. I reached out to the campus resources and asked for help on the best ways to kind of go about that. And every college campus has got resources. You've got a writing center. You've got ours is called the Success Center or something like that, which is like student tutors and stuff for different subjects. And so reach out and get connected with those people if you need help. If you need help with the paper, I'm sure that RCC has a writing center too. Yeah. They'll help you write your papers and stuff. That's really helpful. So make sure that you use those resources. Use your Success Center. Use your library. It's going to all be in your library for the most part, probably. So definitely use those. And then also, your professor will help you. They don't want you to actively fail your exams unless you made them angry earlier on in the year. So just ask for help, because there's options, especially on a college campus. The 3rd tip, which you kind of touched on a little bit in your how-to, which is collaborating with other people. There's other people in your class. You have classmates. Talk to them. They know the same stuff as you. Maybe they took better notes. Maybe you missed class one day and they have notes for you. If that happens, then just shoot them an email or text them and get a photo of the notes and read over them. That's something that I've done plenty of times in the past. Using your resources. There's people that are especially in gen ed classes, you're in, a math class with math majors who just know stuff. It's good to talk to those people, and, you kind of learn by osmosis. So just collaborate. I think studying as a team it works for some people. It's not really my cup of tea so much, but definitely helpful for some people. So just collaborate with your peers. I think it's really important. Go crazy with notes is the next point that I wanted to make. Mm-hmm. So taking notes is hard, especially first year of college, because you have no idea how to do it. There's tons of different strategies for notes. There's like your Cornell notes. There's write everything that the professor says down. There's download the PowerPoint presentation and write all over it. Figure out what it is that works best for you. Use your resources again. If the professor posts their PowerPoints, it almost never hurts to just have those up and go through it and write on it or edit it or whatever you need to do. That's literally the exact same information that they just taught you that's posted. Not every professor does that, but it's very helpful if they do. So use that. I recommend that, at least for me. For me, like, my note-taking strategy usually is, if I can, download the PowerPoint and write all over it. But that's because of this. that helps a lot for that. So
Yeah.
it's important to consider that aspect of it as well. But, if you do paper notes or whatever, just figure out the best way to take the notes for you. And then also actually look back at them because, yes, writing it down when they say it helps you remember it a bit. But when you go through a whole semester's worth of information, there's just no way you're remembering what you learned in the first 2 weeks. I think we can both attest to that.
Yeah, definitely.
There's just no way. So, figure out what you want to do with your notes and stuff like that, and you'll get better with that as you go through college. But even if you took crappy notes, your first semester of college, just look back at them because it will help you jog your memory and stuff like that. Also, like, if you really have no idea, like, refer to your textbook. Most classes have textbooks. It's helpful. It's not fun or flashy, but it is what it is. Or just ask questions again to your professor. And then the last kind of point for the pedal to the metal tip section is you have to go into hyper military mode focus. I know for me, like, I had, for my psychology exam, it was a cumulative exam, so it was everything we ever learned. And I think I ended up with like 6 or 7 decks of flashcards from like different like modules, I guess. And I just went through them like 10 or 15 times like the day before the exam. And then it was an 8 a.m. Monday morning exam, which was a nightmare. And then did it a couple more times before that. And then I just walked in there. And I don't even remember taking the test, but I ended up acing it. So just blackout focus, go in there and crush it, and, be confident and stuff like that. So those are kind of just general tips that I think everybody can apply to closing out the semester that is important. And if you need to go pedal to the metal mode, then you know what you got to do.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I think, like, understanding that it's time to go pedal to the metal mode.
Yeah.
And not just, like,
Yeah.
because most of the time people get to that point because they like to procrastinate.
Yeah.
So, like, procrastinating the fact that you need to go pedal to the metal mode is just going to make it worse.
For sure.
So
yeah, if you do that, then you're definitely, there's no way you're executing.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
Like, one thing that we talk about all the time is, like, self-awareness. And so, like, this is another one of those times where you just have to be self-aware enough to know that, listen, if I don't change what I'm doing around here, like, I'm going to fail this class or whatever your circumstance might be. So that's a huge part of it.
And I think too, like, that was my exact experience with my psych class. Was like, I got to the point where I realized that, like, it wasn't like high school and they weren't gonna like walk me through. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like, really training wheels you to a passing grade. And I was like, well, but I also was able to realize that like a month in advance, so I had plenty of time to learn the material and do well on a final.
Right.
Which is exactly what I did. So. But again, yeah, self-awareness. Also, too, don't discredit how difficult it is to, like, procrastinate for an entire semester or, like, not do well for an entire semester. And then, number one, have the pressure of having to execute on the final exam. And then also, it's a lot of content that you have to, like, basically learn from scratch because you obviously don't know it if you failed all your tests. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, you don't really have a foundation. You have a foundation that's good enough to get you a 40 on your midterm. So, like, what is that doing for you? Not much. So definitely self-awareness is, which that kind of goes with everything always, but just be able to take a step back and look at how you've done so far. And there's going to be things that you definitely know too. Like, you definitely know some of the content, you definitely don't know some of the content. Most professors are pretty accommodating. They'll help you out if you ask questions, especially. Go to office hours. I didn't, like, directly write that. Every professor at every institution ever has office hours. They might not be convenient times for you, but that sucks. Like, you just have to go and get it over with, especially if you need help, because they will help you. College professors are, especially if you go and ask them questions about, like, their field of study, which you're going to do, especially if you need help. They have no problem talking about it because they do that all day, every day. That's their job. So just... don't count yourself out too, because, like, you can do it. You can definitely execute. Like, don't be down and out, because that doesn't do anybody any good, because that's just a fast track to lose. It's like taking the interstate to the loser circle right there. So yeah,
I feel you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What a show. How do you feel about the ending of the semester? You feel confident and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel confident. I mean, it ain't nothing but a thing, really.
Yeah. I mean, we've done it before.
Yeah,
Freshman year, I remember being terrified first semester freshman year, just about the way that exams would work. And then second semester, like last semester, I just had to like go into blackout focus mode for my psych exam, so I don't even remember what happened.
See, it's like different for me because we don't do the whole exam thing.
I forgot about
So,
that.
like, the end of the semester is pretty much just like
Regular.
you submit your final assignment,
Yeah.
and then it's like the class is just over.
I totally forgot about that. We've talked about that before.
But and I mean, this semester it's been kind of different because like we have a final project in my Spanish class, and then like my statistics class, it does have a final exam. And so like in that case, it's kind of like I do kind of have like an end of the semester type vibe this first semester of this year. But I mean, to me it's not nothing but a thing because it's just, for one, I've already done it, and then two, it's just like for most of my classes I just submit the last assignment and then
go home.
Time to start new classes pretty much.
For sure.
But yeah. How about you? You feel good?
Yeah. Whatever. I just found out today that we have a DMP midterm. Or I'm sorry, final. She said literally all semester that it was only a midterm and then a final project. But then I read like a email whenever it was sent out, and it was like, yep, the final exam. And I was like, oh, how fun. It'll be online, so it's no big deal. But yeah. Whatever. This semester's been a softball for me. So just because like I have the only core class that I have is human biology, which is basically like 7th grade anatomy. So I can handle 7th grade anatomy.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. But, whatever. Most of my stuff has been like project based. I did just submit my last my like final papers for my comm class and my media crit class, and I think that they're like 70s, which is fine. But
yeah,
I also thought that the last ones that I submitted were 70s, and they ended up being like 95s. So I'll take a 95 on a paper grade for sure. So
yeah, that's not bad ever.
No, it's not. I think the last thing that I kind of want to talk about here on closing out the semester, especially, and I don't have any notes for it, but we can just talk about it for like a bit, is especially in college, you got to register for classes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, we should have already, everybody that's watching that's in college should have already done that by now. But I just think it's fun to talk about registering for classes and stuff like that, because there's some strategy to that I think is important. And if you have anything, we can talk about this for a little bit. I feel like it's important. But my number one thing with registering for classes is rate my professor. Definitely look at that before you pick classes.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. As a freshman in college, you don't have as much flexibility as far as being able to pick classes because you're going to get last pull and all of that kind of stuff, at least at like a college or university. I don't know how it is at RCCC.
Yeah, it's basically like pretty much like your first 2 years, which pretty much anybody's only at RCCC for 2 years, but you're kind of just at the same level.
Okay.
Like freshmen and sophomores are just like at the same level.
Got it.
So, yeah, that's kind of how it is.
My advice, especially for sophomore, junior, senior, is pick your classes based off of times, not so much based off of even subject. Obviously you have like your required classes, your gen eds, and your major stuff, but just inevitably you're gonna have to take like some garbage hour classes. Pick those based off of time slots, not based off of how interesting the actual class is gonna be, because especially for us, like we commute to college, and my goal every day is to eliminate gaps as best as possible. I want to almost be there for as little time as possible, is kind of the goal. So pick your classes based off of times, and then also professor is the number 2, because in college you kind of do have the flexibility of being able to take the same class with different professors. High school, obviously, you don't have as much flexibility there, and whatever. So be aware that if you look it up on Rate My Professor and there's awful reviews, they're probably true. There's a very slim chance that it's going to be different for your class. So either be okay with what you signed up for or pivot.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest piece of advice for registering for classes. So,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then also, too, I've had a declared major the whole time I've been at my school, so I've been actively working towards that the whole time, and I will have like a lot of my major requirements done by the end of next semester as a sophomore. So if you can do that, obviously everybody doesn't know what they want to study whenever they first get to college. If you can do that, it saves you a ton of time because you can take interesting classes right away. Sometimes those classes will count as gen ed credits, and that's just helpful too because you can study something interesting and you can have a little bit of fun with it, and you can get a core class requirement checked off sometimes. So
Yeah.
very important as well. You got anything registering wise? No?
Not really.
Cool. That's it, yeah?
I'm good.
Sweet. Thanks so much, guys, for listening to Caddy Corner episode 35. Man, that's crazy. 35 weeks. It feels like 35 weeks is weird because it doesn't feel like it's been 35 weeks since March.
No.
Isn't it weird to think about 35 weeks since March?
Yeah.
And now we're at like the end of whatever this month is, November.
Yeah.
How strange.
That's crazy.
It is. It's weird to think about it that way. Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully you guys are good luck closing out your semesters and stuff. It's exam season, kind of like a week until. So get your studying in, find yourself a quiet place and read some notes and have some fun, I guess, and all of that kind of stuff. But thank you so much for listening to episode 35 of Caddy Corner. I'm Austin. He's Caleb. We're back every Friday for this kind of vibe of a show, which is a self-improvement kind of lifestyle, young adult vibe show. More informative, audio and video everywhere, every Friday. I don't know what time it gets uploaded. I think the video gets uploaded at 8.
The 6.
6 for the audio, 6
Yeah.
a.m. for the audio. So check out for that. And then also, if you're on audio, which you guys all are because this is our podcast, we also do a show called After Hours, Caddy Corner After Hours, which is more of a laid-back, kickback entertainment show vibe. If you're interested in that sort of thing, then check it out on the audio only. It is available on Wednesdays, every Wednesday. We've only missed one upload ever, and that was because of technology difficulties, I promise. So, with that being said, we will see you guys next week. Again, I'm Austin. He's Caleb. Peace out.
Peace.